Hello, YouTube. This is Mahadeva, the OG Thunder Wizard, getting his accoutrement in order here. And so today I want to talk to you about probably one of the least understood and least known truths about real spiritual power. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about what a lot of people associate with power, which is a modern understanding, which is people believe that if somebody has a lot of spiritual power, that they have spiritual abilities, metaphysical powers, they automatically assume that person is enlightened, and that is the result of becoming enlightened, is that you'll have these kinds of powers like a Jedi. And that's not true. That is a very modern understanding, and that's a result of our indoctrination into the Matrix thought process, which is religion. So religion, over the past 2,000 years, depending on where your ancestors came from, has been doing this, has been changing your understanding about the nature of the universe to such a degree that, first of all, you've been taught that you live in this prison. And that started before Christianity. That started with Gnosticism. Gnosticism teaches that we live in this evil, dense, physical world, and that true spirituality is, if you go further and further away from the physical, you get closer and closer to true spirit. And again, there's half-truths in everything. And so that started, modern mysticism as well as modern Christianity. And so we have been programmed from birth to believe that anything non-physical is good and anything physical is bad. And that's not how our ancestors looked at things at all. Our ancestors lived in a universe that had multiple dimensions, and this physical dimension was one of them. And all of these dimensions had their own magical powers and abilities, and you could interact with all different kinds of them. And if you go back into mythology, you find there's no such thing as an enlightened being with powers and then an evil being that doesn't have powers. You end up having multiple kinds of people. You have wizards, and you have shamans, and you have gods, and you have demigods, and you have earth spirits, and you have celestial deities, and then there are beings like demons and trolls, and they're all part of this huge community of energies and beings, and we all live together. We're a community. And so the whole idea is to find balance. And if you look into the closest thing we have in medieval times to mythology. By the way, when I use the word mythology, I'm using it very specifically. A lot of times people think that mythology is a bad word. It's not. It's a very good word. Myths, true mythology like Norse mythology, Greek mythology, East Indian mythology, when you're talking about, like how Thor got his hammer or these kinds of things. These are actually channeled teachings from the ancestors, from the ascended masters. And it's in story form, but for the average person, it's like watching Star Wars. Star Wars is modern mythology, by the way. I'm going to talk about that. It's like watching Star Wars. It's fun, it's exciting, it's out of this world, and but it's not real life. But it has an effect on you, and has an effect on how you live life. In fact, so much so that there are people who've started a religion, a Jedi religion. And, all power to them. I think that's a great idea. But the closest thing that we had in medieval times to true mythology, which are these channeled teachings from the Ascended Masters would be fairy tales. And fairy tales show the mindset of our ancestors more than today, because nowadays, today, if you watch your basic movie, thriller, whatever, there's going to be an evil, bad man, and then there's going to be a good, hero. And if you deal with spirituality at all, there's going to be this assumption that everybody who has spiritual powers got it because they've become enlightened. And that if you don't have enlightenment, you won't have powers. So if somebody comes along and they show some kind of ability, like healing ability or psychic ability or something like that, people automatically assume, that person is enlightened. But our ancestors, if you go back into fairy tales, there was a good witch and a bad witch. First off, usually the being that had the most power was not a man, it was a woman. That's going to be important. We're going to talk about that. And the other thing is that this powerful being, this witch, or if it was a male wizard, could be either good or bad or amoral. Could be right smack dab in the middle. The only thing that you knew was this being was somebody who could be dangerous, and you had to be careful with them. They were mysterious and dangerous, and they could be good, they could be bad. It's not like today, where if you just automatically hear of some saint or some person with abilities, you just automatically just throw your critical thinking away, and you just immediately rush to that person and go, "Oh, save me." That's not how things work, and that's not how things have been for thousands and thousands of years. So I mentioned Star Wars, and over there on the left you have the evil sorcerer Palpatine, or what is it, Darth? What is he? Darth? Not Darth? Is he? No, he's not Darth. Is he Darth Sidious? The names that's very mythological. Also, the names are very easy to tell. And then on the right you have my interpretation of, a Jedi and all of their power. And in the middle is the heart center. And people miss that. One thing about Star Wars that they got 100% is that, number one, there is this force in the universe. And that force is life force energy. Yeah, Darth Sidious, that's his name. Life force energy. So we're not going to talk about kundalini in this video, but kundalini is something else, by the way. It drives me crazy. People think kundalini is life force energy. It's not. They're connected. Your kundalini can be stimulated by life force energy, but power of life force energy is the inherent power in the universe. And we all have this within us, but we can also plug into it. And it is neutral. And we have different energy centers in the body. And you have these three cauldrons right here. You have the spiritual, which is often called Shen. It's actually Shen is in the heart. But a lot of people associate Shen with the upper, but the upper is actually intention, which is Yi. And then in the center you have the heart center. And I'm going to share with you secrets of the heart center that almost, in my experience, very few people know. If they do know of it, they don't really understand how powerful it is. And the good news is that even though it serves you and it's part of your everyday life, unlocking that is a hidden secret that is very difficult to find anybody if they know how to unlock it. But that is the center cauldron. And then you have the lower cauldron, and that is where the chi is, or the prana, the life force energy. There are other energies that we're going to talk about today, but those are the basic three. You find this in all spiritual disciplines. You find it in Christianity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. You find it in northern Northern European mythology, Odin, Vili, and Ve. You find it in the Huna, the Chinese, not the Chinese, the Hawaiian shamanism. They talk about the three centers as well. You find it in Taoism, of course, as heaven, earth, and man, or Qi, Shen, and Yi. These sometimes are interchangeable and people use them in different ways, so, don't get upset if I'm not using the exact verbiage according to your understanding, but you understand where I'm going with this. So understanding how these three energy centers work is absolutely essential if you are going to unlock the secret powers of the heart, which is where real magic, real power comes from. Then you're going to have to find somebody who can teach you that. So the reason why I say that Star Wars is a mythology, again, my definition of a mythology is a story, a symbolic story that is actually channeled information from the ascended masters, that for the average person it's just a fun thing to watch, but for wizards and deep spiritual practitioners, you're actually being given information. I'll give you one example. Thor's hammer. So Thor is said to be the god of thunder and lightning. They're two different things, by the way. Thunder and lightning are two different things. Thunder is in, listen to this, you probably never heard this before. Thunder is in the liver, lightning is in the heart. So you could have the power of thunder, but of course lightning isn't too far behind, but the power of lightning is in the heart. And if you don't understand how to unlock the lightning from the heart, you'll never get that you see that with the Sith lords, they have lightning coming out of their hands. See, again, these people write these movies and they don't really understand, but what they're doing is they're telling you, they're transmitting to you knowledge, even if it's cheesy. Some of the dialogue is really cheesy and stupid, but I'm telling you that is a channeled information, because he doesn't know it. I know the people who write it most likely have no idea about energy or Qigong or pranayama or magic or any of that stuff. But what they're telling you in those movies is absolutely true. Because you notice they make, in this last movie that came out, what was it, The Rise of Skywalker or something? I think it was the last, supposedly like the ending of the whole Star Wars thing. It was really good. I watched it last night and I was blown away at how they got it all right. They understood, they were channeling the true power of real magic and all the symbolism that's in it. I should probably make a video just on that movie, but they make a distinction between intuition and feelings. And most people don't make that distinction. And there is a distinction. From the very first Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi says to Luke Skywalker, reach out with your feelings. He doesn't say reach out with your energy. He doesn't say reach out with your intuition. He says reach out with your feelings. And then the last one, at some point somebody said, how did you know that? Is it your intuition? He said, no, I felt it. I can feel it. And that is the heart center. And so the power of the Jedi is coming from the heart. Also, the power of the Sith is coming from the heart. Have you ever noticed that the colors theme with the Sith is red? Palpatine's office in one of the earlier ones is just this blood red walls. And his personal guards, this is also channeled, his personal guards had these red armor and capes on. This is all symbolic. Somebody was channeling. They're saying this is the heart center. And you notice that fire is everywhere. There's all kinds of scenes with fire when you're dealing with the Sith Lords, or if Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting, there's this fire everywhere, the theme of fire and being burned by fire. And how you become drawn to the dark side of the Force is through your feelings. First, it starts with your attachments, what you love, which is the heart. And then comes the fear that you're going to lose what you love, or you do lose what you love, and then you become jealous, you become possessive, and then you become hurt, you become betrayed, and then comes hatred. Fear, hatred, all this stuff, all the speeches of Yoda is exactly right. It's exactly 100% right. Now, bear in mind, that is just one way of dealing with things. You can have a completely different spiritual path without having to deal with the heart center this directly. But it's no coincidence that in those movies, the beings that had all of the power always dealt with the heart center. And so the Jedi, they come from love and compassion, and they come from non-attachment. By the way, this is what Buddhism is all about. Buddhism is the merging of the intellect and the heart. And it is for, if people have a karmic destiny to become Buddhist in this life, it means that they need to learn how to open their heart center without becoming attached. That's why Buddhism, you have very intellectualized spiritual stuff. You can listen to a Buddhist talk about the nature of the self and all of that. And they'll go on and on and on, and they fight with each other about all these intellectual things about that. And then their meditation is about letting go and emptiness and being in this state of non-attachment, of watching all of your thoughts and your feelings and not having any attachments, or seeking to be unattached. And Buddha, there's all kinds of things attributed to Buddha. A lot of it I don't think came from him. By the way, I do believe that he was a real person, unlike, say, Jesus, who is another heart center guy we could talk about, but we won't. Buddha said very clearly what it was that he taught. And one of his students came to him and said, perfected one, I've been following you now for months and years, and you haven't once talked about the nature of the soul. You haven't once talked about life after death. You haven't said if there are gods and demons, or if the soul exists, or, and he lists all these normal religious things, and he says, when are you going to talk about this? Because I've been waiting for you to teach me this. And he said, when did I ever say I was going to talk about the soul or the afterlife or any of these other things? He said, the only thing that I have ever said was that attachment causes misery. That's it. And he said, that's all I'm ever going to talk about. So if you're waiting to hear me talk about the afterlife and whether gods exist and what happens to the soul after death, or does the soul exist, I'm never going to talk about it, so you might as well go somewhere else. I'm only going to talk about the being relieved from the misery of attachment. And that's it. And so that is the intellect, being very practical, because the intellect is not a spiritual part of you. It is here to help you figure things out in this physical life, so you can get, drive down the street, and over here in Australia on the left side of the road, or, wherever you live. You have to know things in order to function in this 3 dimensions. You have to have practical reality. He was just very practical. That is the most practical spiritual thing that anybody can say, which is, listen, being attached to anything is just going to cause you misery, so seek to be unattached. You could take that a step further and say, I'm one with the universe, I'm one with the universal soul, I'm one with love and all that. But that's not what Buddha taught. Compassion for him was just a practical byproduct. The way to become unattached is to practice compassion. That's it. This is the intellect merging with the heart center. So there's one aspect of the heart center. And then you have Bhakti, devotion. And these are people like, especially people who worship Krishna, because Krishna is all about that. People who have a destiny in this life to find themselves through devotion to spirituality. A lot of them become Krishna worshippers, Christians, Rama, because that's all about devotion. And so they do all these acts of devotion. So for them, it's the heart center. They become connected through the divine, through love. So there's no intellect involved. It's all from a feeling standpoint. So we're going to talk about that some more. But before we do, I want to talk to you about the 5 energies in the heart. Yeah, CNS, by the way, this is a question and answer. So this is how I do things on my channel. Welcome to my channel if you're new. I do a question and answer. I'm really not interested in your opinion, nothing personal. What I would like is a dialogue. Ask me questions about what I'm talking about or what I teach. If you have a question, write the word question in all caps so that I see it. And then you can write the rest of it in normal script. Otherwise, there's a good chance I might miss it because as you can see, people just and I have to scroll through all that to get to the questions. So if you have a question, write a question and I'll get to it at some point. So we need to talk about these energy processing centers. So what I just saw this one thing over here, somebody talked about the heart's color from the chakra. Chakras are not life force energy centers. Chakras are kundalini, and kundalini, we'll briefly talk about the difference. Kundalini is not life force energy. Kundalini is something that only humans have, and it is in the spinal column, and it is an energy. It's a non-physical feminine energy that binds you to the earth. It literally is the anchor that keeps you in your physical body, and it is associated with your psyche. So people don't realize it, but yoga is mainly a psychological spiritual practice. You are aligning the psyche, yoga. You are uniting your human ego, your human psyche to the infinite. And each of the 7 chakras are different realms that have to do with aspects of your maturity. And as the kundalini rises up the spinal column, it goes through these 7 points of psychological spiritual advancement. The root chakra is about physical security. The sexual chakra is about the superficial experience of personal identity and creativity. The 3rd chakra in the navel is about identity and power, and again a further individuation. The heart center is about learning how to love without being attached. The throat center is about speaking your truth and working through, like I do because I'm a teacher, working through and speaking your experience and understanding so that you can then eventually let go of all those things and unify. The 3rd eye is of getting closer to complete union, and then the crown chakra is letting go of all ego whatsoever. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. It has very little to do. What we're talking about today is life force energy, chi. That is not the chakras. That's this. Now, the chakras overlap these 3 areas. So there's where the confusion is. The navel center is what this person here says is physical power, but it's really the 2nd level of non-physical energy, which is associated with your physical body. So this is why most martial arts deal with what they call the Dantian. In fact, many of them don't even understand that there are 3. They just say the Dantian, which means energy cauldron, and they mean this one here in the navel. But then you have the heart center. And the heart center deals with the Shen, or the soul. So the soul is housed in the heart center. So the soul is the infinite part of you, the true authentic identity of you that is housed in this community of beings. You live in a community. You are the emperor. The soul is the emperor of this community. There's the 5 elements, which are the 5 major organs, which is ether, air, fire, water, and earth, or wood, metal, fire, water, earth. And these have to do with the 5 major organs, and they have their own consciousness. They have a conscious awareness, and they have a relationship with you, whether you realize it or not. You have your 3 selves. You are the one in the center. These other 2 are here to, I'm touching my navel as well. The other 2 are here to help you. And then you also have these cauldrons. So when you're, creating gold, right? You heat up whatever it is, the ore, and then you put it in a cauldron and you heat it up, and then the impurities come to the surface and you scoop those off until you have nothing but the pure gold. That's what these 3 centers are. They deal with life force energy, and they're used to purify it. The first level of life force energy is the physical, right? That's called Qi, just basic life force energy. And then you have the Shen, which means the spirit or the soul. And then up here you have the Yi, which is the intention. And so the Yi, people go straight to the Yi and think that's where all of the power is, but it's not. All the power is actually right there. A lot of the power comes from here, but it's actually there. Now, you can't get the energy there until you first get it here. And that's what Tai Chi is all about. That's why there's so much focus on the navel. And I was going to tell you, I got distracted, but I was going to tell you about the mythology that my ancestors knew about Qigong. We don't know that. We look at, because all of our historical practices were taken away from us. We don't realize that our ancestors in Europe practiced life force energy. They practiced what we would call today Qigong, which we think is exclusively in China. But it's not. How do I know that? Because Thor is said to, and life force energy, Thor represents life force energy. He represents thunder and lightning, which is electromagnetism, which is Qi, which is life force energy. And he is said to have what's called Megan Yord, I believe it's called, which is a power belt. So he wears a belt around his waist, big belt. And he also wears gloves. He wears steel gloves. And it's said that if he doesn't have his power belt on, he only has half of his energy. So in order to get his full energy, he has to wear his belt, his power belt. In order to pick up the hammer, he has to have his metal gloves on. That doesn't make any sense because the hammer is lightning. It's electric energy, life force energy. You know, if you were to put on a steel glove and touch something electric, you would be electrocuted. It would kill you. But because he's the god of thunder, he wants something that's going to connect him and connect the energy. And that has to do with the palms of the hand. There's an energy center in the palm of the hand called the Lao Gong point, and that's where, you know, if people have energy that they can shoot out their hands, that's where it comes from. That means he's saying in order to pick up the hammer, in order to be able to move energy with your hands, you have to wear a steel glove, which means something that conducts electricity, conducts life force energy. The navel center is the house of the Qi, the life force energy. So he's saying that you have to work on the navel center. If you don't empower the navel center, you'll only have half of your power. And if you don't open the meridians to your hands, you won't be able to pick up the lightning and the thunder, which means move energy out of your hands. This is all Qigong. The average person doesn't know what that means, but the wizard would, and he must have told his students, how to play with energy and whatever, play with the navel center, and he must have. We have very strong evidence that the Northern Europeans practiced a kind of meditation in full lotus, which we only think is yoga, but they do it in China as well. They do full lotus in China. Our ancestors meditated in full lotus and had this basic understanding about life force energy. So just to let you know, this is a science. Remember, this is a science, it's not a belief. If you think of it as, oh, that's what they believe in that country and that's what they believe there and isn't that cute, you're not going to get anywhere. That's what Christianity taught you. Christianity said, believe in Jesus. Believe that he died on the cross and was raised from the dead. Believe that he saved you. That's the only thing that matters, is your intellectual belief. The rest of it doesn't mean anything. Every other tradition, belief is only a factor in you being able to experience it and interact with it. All right, so those are the 3 energy centers. Now, let me talk to you about the 5. How many energies are there? Let's count them. So first off, you have just your physical strength, your muscles, your bones, your ligaments, your tendons. That's just your physical strength. Most people in the world operate almost 100% from physical strength. If they haven't opened up their energy centers, then that will probably never happen. They'll just be purely physical. That's why the average person gets old fast and sick fast, and especially if they live a hard life, they're dead by 50. And we see that in cave people, like the what are they? The Neanderthals. They were, it was at the age I'm at, a Neanderthal would be dead. Neanderthals were old by the time they were 40. They had no teeth and they were limping around. And that means that that's somebody who's just completely in their physical body and they've got no other powers and life is difficult and the body just falls apart. So the first is the physical, which is why it's really important not to treat your body poorly. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't do any ethnogens. I'm not the best eater in the world, but compared to the average person, I don't do red meat, right? Don't do any of that stuff. And so treating your body well is extremely important because eventually it'll start falling apart. And then, so you got the physical, and then you have sexual energy. Sexual energy is the fluids, the sexual fluids in the body. This is why many people, many monks, many yogis, and why so many people ask me, should I be celibate? Which means, should they not masturbate to porn? That's really what they're asking me. But I was celibate for 6.5 years. I was just all about moving the energy up. So there's something to that if you have a teacher. By the way, don't do it unless you have somebody to teach you. Unless you have a technique, don't bother. It's not necessary. You can open up all this power I'm talking about without doing that. But if you're only dealing with the chi energy, which most people are, then it's helpful to stay celibate. And do something, if you're going to try it, then I've got an exercise for you called, and it's on my channel, but you don't have to find it on my channel. You can look it up anywhere. Sat Kriya. Do that every day, especially if you're a guy, and that will help you to stay celibate. Again, I'm not recommending that. If that's the direction you want to go, that's one way to do it. So the first is physical, second is the sexual fluids. Now, the sexual fluids, if they're retained, they can then create this physical energy, this chi energy. And then that chi energy will then move up and become Shen, or spirit energy, or soul energy. And if that continues, then it can make its way up to the yi, the intentions. That's one path. That is the path that most people take. That is the path that most people should take. This avoids this secret power center within the heart. And so there is a secret power, there's secret practices out there that open up this power within the heart, which we're going to talk about. This path let's see, I won't go there. So normally, like if you're practicing an internal Chinese Qigong or Tai Chi, or even many Chinese martial arts, you'll hear people talk about Jing, Qi to Shen. That is going from physical fluids to the lower Dantian, which is Qi power, physical energy, to the heart. Now they don't realize it, but a lot of them associate it with the upper center here, which that's okay. But that's really not what's happening. What they're doing is they're moving the energy up through a slow process and bringing it into the heart center. They're using the power of the emperor. So it's a very good path, Jing, Qi to Shen, because it means if you do that path, you will become more aware of your soul essence and you'll have power. And a lot of this power will be seen in healing power. Of course, it'll make you physically younger, it'll help all of the internal organs and all of the consciousness within the internal organs, and open up the meridians to the body, and keep you healthy and happy. And then when you get to the heart center, this is the center of joy. And when you're able to move the energy up there, then you will experience your essence, your authentic essence, which is your soul, your infinite identity that has come and has lodged itself here in this community, which you are, a human being. You're filled with all kinds of energies that are part of you, some that you have no clue about. And we're going to talk about a couple of them that you probably never heard of before. And so that's really the goal. The goal of this is to get you to live from your soul. And if you have a destiny for it, then you might find something. You might become a Tai Chi master and be able to, move people without touching them, or you can, all kinds of fun stuff. And it's a lot of fun. But that's not what a Jedi does. So a lot of people out there practicing Tai Chi thinking they're going to become a Jedi. It's not going to be the case. It's a safe route. It is the route that most people should go, and it is a safe one because it is dominated by the lower Dantian. The lower Dantian is actually more associated with Yi than the heart center. The heart center is not associated with the intellect. So this, when you work with the navel center and the upper center, which you should, you're designed this way. It's a safety mechanism. It keeps you in this logical frame of mind. It keeps you in a practical frame of mind. And it keeps you in a more physical, metaphysical. I know it sounds like I'm conflicting myself, but I'm not. What I'm saying here is that there's a secret passage to real power which you don't have the keys to. And even if you practice an energetic path, you still won't open it up. And that's for your protection. Because if you open up this power within the heart, it actually surrounds the heart. If you open up this power without going through the proper steps, or without having the proper instruction, or really without having your clear connection to true spiritual values, then you will turn into a Darth Sidious. And so your body and the universe has designed you so that will be very unlikely, which is why if you practice an internal martial art, you will always be told that you go from Jing to Qi to Shen. And along the way, you will have to go through some kind of celibacy, where you don't connect to people on a sexual level. There's a reason for that. It's because the heart and the sexual organs, there's a direct connection. Duh. Most of you know that. Most people are designed to be monogamous. Most people get their feelings hurt tremendously if their partner is sexual with somebody else. It is a way to connect through the body, through the navel center, and up into the heart. It's a way of doing that. So by staying celibate, you not only create the Jing, which is the sexual energy, which then when the sexual energy gets to a certain level, it really empowers the navel center, the Qi energy. And that will help you to become unselfish, because sexuality is usually a very selfish thing. I'm not judging it. It's two people being selfish. The more selfish you are, usually the more pleasure you give to your partner, and vice versa. What makes you feel good makes them feel good, which makes them want to do things that make them feel good, which feels good to you, and it just crescendos to, a child. And so it is a selfish thing. It's a beautiful way of being selfish and giving at the same time. So by staying celibate, you learn how to be unselfish when it comes to relationships with other people, which is the first training to become being ready to be a Jedi. So ideally, in an ideal world, what would happen is you would practice celibacy, which would then empower your Qi, which would then begin to transform up to Shen, which then would open up the Yi of intentions, and the secret power of the heart still hasn't been tapped into. It's working behind the scenes, it's doing things for you, but in terms of like the nuclear power, it's like a nuclear bomb. That's the way to look at it. That the rest of this is conventional type of energy, and then there's like a nuclear power center that doesn't get turned on. It just rumbles just a little bit behind the scenes, and it does some work to help you out, but you don't deal with it directly, and you don't awaken it, you don't open it up. And that's where most spiritual paths are supposed to go. And it's designed that way to keep you safe and to keep other people safe. But the secret stuff, that can only be, let me just put it to you this way, unless you've been given some kind of nod from the universe, you'll never find it. And if you do, you either won't be able to understand it, or it'll be too much for you and you'll walk away. Unless you're an Emperor Palpatine, who has the ability to tolerate his negative feelings and then uses them to destroy himself and other people because of his greed and his attachment. And same thing with Darth Vader. If again, this is mythology. Darth Vader started out as this very powerful Jedi who had more than average power, and he couldn't get a grasp on his fear and his attachments. And so he fell in love. And he was secretive about it. He lied and he kept things secret. And then his love pushed him over the edge to get horrible powers, because he thought he was going to need that to save Padme's life, when it turns out he's the one that ended up killing her. Such is the circuitous path of the dark side. But the other thing is that what it teaches us, and the other thing that makes these people so dangerous, the evil sorcerer. And again, I'm not talking about your average evil sorcerer. I'm talking about the one who's found this secret power of the heart and awakened it, and then ended up using it for selfish gain. The thing is that evil spirits, use emotions. Evil spirits do not attack you with life force energy. Evil spirits are emotional beings. They're evil and they're ghosts because of emotions. They're not the trapped soul of an individual. The soul, when it dies, it leaves this plane. If there's any part of you when you die that turns into a ghost, it's your lower self. It's your unconscious and subconscious mind is not you. In other words, so here's a good thing to look at. This will help you if you've got people that have died that have caused you harm. The good thing to know is that the moment that they die, all of those psychological things that make them evil or imperfect or hurtful, those die with them. Their soul is pure and is pure love and all of that. So you can connect with your grandparents, your mother, your father, if somebody in your life who was really horrible and abusive to you, you can actually connect to their soul, and their soul is not going to have any of that attached to it. If there is a ghost, it's because the person had unresolved issues. They got jilted at the altar and they were angry and hurt, and they were full of resentment and anger and self-pity, and I don't blame them. I'm just telling you, those are the feelings associated with it. And so they jump off the cliff and they kill themselves. Where I grew up, there was a lighthouse. So he lived on this rocky, outcropping peninsula. And there was a lighthouse. And apparently back in the 20s, when that place was first, developed, there was some young woman who got left at the altar, and she was very sad. And I guess the wedding was by the ocean, but she just, in her wedding dress, walked off the cliff. And so I remember as a kid hearing stories about the ghost and hearing about friends who had seen the ghost. And, if you wait long enough by the lighthouse, you're going to see this woman in white jump off the cliff. That's not her soul. That woman's soul, when it separated from her body, it went to the underworld, most likely because she committed suicide. And that soul went and dealt with, why did I do that? Oh my gosh, in this lifetime, next lifetime, I got to make sure, not to be so attached to other people, and I got to, but her emotional, her psychology, her psyche, because it was so wrapped up, it was so emotionally attached to whatever it was that was upsetting her, that got squished out onto the earthly plane. And so the psyche, which is the same with everybody today, the psyche doesn't stop. So this is why you have to let go of things. If somebody's hurt your feelings, and I don't mean deny. When so many times when people say, "Oh, I've let that go," what they mean is they've gone into denial. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about actually having the pain and crying it out and working through it and, realizing your part in it and letting it go. Dispersing those attachments and those feelings. That's why it's really important to do that, because in your unconscious mind, if you haven't forgiven somebody, it means that you're being continuously hurt. So if somebody like abused you, for example, let's say somebody physically abused you, if you don't forgive that person, then on an unconscious level, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you are being abused. And denying it doesn't make that go away. Saying, "Oh, I'm not going to deal with that," and "Oh, I don't even think about that anymore," and "Oh yeah, I've forgiven him, but I'm never going to forget." It means that you're continuously abusing yourself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's what creates evil spirits. Evil spirits are emotional beings. Demons are, Senator Palpatine here is actually on his way to becoming a demon, like a full-fledged, evil, powerful evil being, that's what he's working towards. And that happens to people. And it happens, you can create a demon that will go out into the world and, be as evil as any spiritual being you can imagine. Just because there was something that didn't go the way you wanted in life. It can start out as simply as that. So the way to fight emotional difficulties is with the heart center. So that's why Senator Palpatine is surrounded by these elite guards that are all dressed in red. Because in the Dantian here you have, I have to tell you, I mean, I'm really not sure if I should be saying this. I'm being honest with you. I'm really worried if I should even be revealing this information because it's potentially dangerous. I'm not giving out any specific techniques, so I think we're okay. But, I'm constantly monitoring myself as I'm talking about it because we're starting to get into some forbidden territory, stuff I'm not allowed to talk about. But over here in the heart center, you have your heart. So your heart is your soul, and it is fire. So the element is fire. So that's why when you see red and you see red hearts, it's because fire is associated with that. And the element is fire. But in your physical body, there is an entity that is part of your heart. It's not your heart, it is part of your heart. And it is a feminine entity that surrounds your heart. Everybody has it. So your heart is your soul. So your soul is there, and then there's this feminine fire entity that surrounds your heart. And this feminine entity is here to protect your heart from damage of all kinds: physical, biological, mental, spiritual, emotional. And so when your heart gets overheated, one of the things it does is it will take on the heat and then it will expel it out this point here in the hand. So, if you ever noticed that, well, that's a whole other subject. So what that thing does is, if you've noticed that in the movies, which is true, that if there's the evil, demons are coming at you, that the way to overcome it is through love. And there's some of the movies where people gather together and they hold each other and they start laughing, and they laugh and they have a good time, and then the evil spirit has no negative feelings to feed off of, and then it dies or it gets scared and runs away. This is why the Buddhist understanding is to take compassion. And in the Buddhist tradition, and depending on where you are, there will be like evil, like earth spirits that the evil shamans used in their witchcraft. And what the Buddhists do, the Buddhists will come in and convert those evil spirits into Buddhists. That's where Tibetan Buddhism comes from. If it wasn't for the fact that the Tibetan king who had become Buddhist, he was having to deal with all this black magic that was being thrown on him by the shamans that didn't want him to become Buddhist. They didn't want to be, the shamans had a lot of power and they didn't want to lose political as well as spiritual power. And so the king of Tibet asked for an East Indian tantric yogic master who had become Buddhist as well. And he came up and he brought Hindu tantric spirituality. That's why the Tibetans do so much mantra. Some of those mantras are Hindu mantras. I'm sorry, but the majority of them are Hindu mantras. They've just been given over, and they give the Hindu deities, the title of Buddha, and then they feel okay about it. But they're Hindu. And so he came over and he had to fight against these spirits that the shamans kept on sending at the Tibetan king. And so what he would do is when those spirits would come at him, he would convert them to Buddhism. He would use his power of love and compassion, and they'd turn into Buddhists. And then those, what used to be demons, are now the protectors of Buddhism in Tibet. So that's one way of doing it. And again, love. But there's a way of taking this power this feminine power and building it and expanding on it. And then if somebody is not in a place of love, they turn into a Sith Lord. And they turn their hate and their fear and their anger and their insecurities, and they weaponize it. So when you see Senator Palpatine sending out those bolts of lightning, he has weaponized all of his feelings from this feminine entity surrounding his heart. And so that's what happens if you open up this power and you're not on a truly spiritual path. The danger is that you will become obsessed with power, and then all of your fear and your hatred and your rage and your selfishness and your lust and your greed will then become weaponized. And so that's what those guards that are surrounding Senator Palpatine all the time, or Darth Sidious, that represents that energy, that heart energy, that fire, that feminine fire entity that surrounds the heart, which is used for exorcism. So you can do exorcism through prayer, through meditation. If you get together with a bunch of people and you all hug each other and you sing songs to the divine, or you laugh, that will get rid of, because everybody's using that heart center energy to scare off fear, negativity. There's nothing for it to feed off of, because negative entities feed off of your negative energies. But the most frightening and dangerous person is the person who uses their heart sheath energy to fight off evil spirits, but they themselves have not purified their emotions. Then they become invincible to evil spirits, and they become weaponized against other people, and they can use then their power for all kinds of horrific black magic. But the good news is there is a safety valve, and it is that energy never is turned outward. That energy is focused inward. It's like that feminine entity is focused on the heart and protecting the heart. And so if you get wrapped up in a bunch of your negative feelings, that negative entity can get wrapped up in that as well. And that's when you have people who are really angry and spiteful, and they fly off the handle and they're really unpredictable. But if they had the ability to turn that negativity from that entity outward, they would turn into a very powerful evil person. But you don't have to worry about that, because I said unless somebody finds a technique to do that, it's virtually impossible to do that. Unless you're given some kind of karmic thumbs up, it'll never happen. That's what I've found out. So, anyway, I think I've gone through everything I wanted to say there. I don't think I've said anything that I'm not supposed to say. I'm still kind of on the edge there. I maybe shouldn't be talking about this stuff, but I am anyway. But the point is that the point of all of it is to open up the heart safely. So opening up the heart through the Jing, Qi, Shen, Yi path, that is the path that is the safest. It has safeguards within it, because it takes tremendous discipline, tremendous commitment and discipline to make that work, which means that in order for that to work, you can't get wrapped up in all kinds of negativity and selfishness, because it just stops working. So even if you wanted to become an evil sorcerer, you wouldn't be able to, because you'd have to go through, by the time you went through all of the discipline to get the sexual energy to become navel center chi, to then become heart center, by the time you get there, you've already learned how to have patience, to have discipline, to tolerate your negative feelings and not act on them. Because if you act on your negative feelings through that path, you lose your energy. You lose it. Whereas the evil sorcerer actually gains energy from his negativity and from increasing your negativity. But that's only because that person has learned to take this feminine energy of the heart and flip it out to the outside. Normally it won't do that. It won't do that unless you know the keys to make that happen. If you don't know the keys to make it happen, it won't happen. So you can become an evil, horrible person, but the universe has set up safeguards so that you can only, cause so much damage, which is a lot, but you won't be able to, shoot lightning bolts out your hands and, do all kinds of really horrific magic and curses and things like that and send demons at other people. You won't be able to do that just with your energy. So that's why, Shaolin goes the way it goes, and why Buddhism and why Taoist meditation and all that. That's why it goes through those processes. All right, let's see. Again, I'm happy to take questions. Dean Nevin's question, you talked about the placement of Ketu can indicate what can drain our energy. How does that affect me with Ketu in my ascendant in Leo? So what will drain your energy, Dean Nevins, is if you get wrapped up in yourself, like wanting to be famous. Because Ketu in the first house means, listen, it's not about me. I've already done the me thing. Don't, if you had Rahu in the first house, in Leo especially, you'd be like, me, look at me, listen to me. Hey, I'm over here, and la, 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 listen to me. But because Ketu says, I'm just another person, don't worry about me. So what will drain your energy is if you try to become the center of attention. Yeah. I hope I answered that question. And I already answered CNS Productions. I thought the heart color from the chakra. The chakra color of the heart is green. The Dantian color of the heart is red. Wanderer question. Is it beneficial to concentrate on powering the second and third Dantian? Second and third. So first being the navel. So, yeah, I wouldn't work on them exclusively. You have to work on the navel. The only people that don't have to work on the navel are the sorcerers. Sorcerers, if they know how to tap into this and turn this power out, then they can tap into other natural forms of chi energy in the body, and they don't have to. It's a secret sort of backdoor thing. But the average person, they have to focus on the navel first and foremost, or the other two won't open. So to answer your question, no, it's a waste of time to just focus on these two. And I don't know why, I did it too. Why people want to just go straight to the, this doesn't mean anything. You have to understand that this doesn't mean anything. This third eye, opening the third eye doesn't mean anything. The third eye only has meaning after you've opened the first, and then the second, and then the third, and then they're all lit up. But if you were to just open this, it would be like putting in a light bulb to a socket that didn't have any wires attached to it. It's a waste of time. Well, the light bulb is there, but I can't turn it on. I can't do anything with it. So the short answer is there's no benefit in just doing that. If you, however, work on the navel, if you work on the Jing and the Qi and work on those exclusively, they will eventually open up the other two. So it's just a matter of time, right? That's like asking me, is it beneficial for me as a 98-pound weakling to go and try and lift 1,000 pounds? No, it's not beneficial at all. It's a very bad idea. What you should do is you should do squats for 3 or 5 years and eat a lot of protein and really strengthen your core, and then, because then you'll have all the energy and the power behind you. But trying to open up the third eye without getting your power bases, this is, by the way, this is what happens when you take entheogens, which is why so many so-called shamans out there, or neo-shaman hippies out there, who think that they're being spiritual and don't do anything, they treat their bodies like crap, why they're so unhealthy. This is why pot addicts are so unhealthy. It's because they're actually they're shoving. It's like if your head was a balloon, they're actually shoving whatever energy they have in their aura, they're shoving it in their head, and their head's going, which is why they feel so spacey, and they, wow, man, and like, you know, I think in my thumbnail there's like a guy sitting on a planet, and then he's like looking at his thumbnail, and man, and then that guy's thumbnail, and oh my God, I'm so high right now. What did I just say? It's because you're filled with all of your own, I mean, besides whatever else is going on, you've taken all of your life force energy and you've shoved it into your head, and you think you're having a third eye spiritual experience, and you're just like throwing your energy away. And that's why afterwards, when you come down off of weed, you feel so, and you know, I remember as a teenager, I was starting to get a cold, I remember. And then I smoked weed, and then the next day I had the worst cold I'd ever had, because all of my physical energy that was in my aura that would have helped me heal and protect me was gone. I had nothing to protect me from the virus. So, short answer, no, it's a waste of time. And that's usually somebody who thinks that, you know, I was that way. People think that if they can get to open their third eye, that they'll have some spiritual, they're wanting to get to the end, and it's not. The only spiritual experience you have if you open your third eye without opening, you know, building the energy in these lower Dantians, is that at best you're going to have some delusion. This is how people become psychotic. They have kundalini psychosis. You can also have chi sickness. You hear voices, you have visions, you have, you know, it doesn't mean anything. It means you've gone crazy. So opening up this without working the other two, if you have any luck at all, you'll go crazy. So no, short answer, no. You shouldn't waste your time on that. You know, go and do your Tai Chi or your yoga or your deep breathing or your Hul breath. You want to empower yourself. You know, if you haven't already, go and do this. This is the most all-encompassing, powerful thing, which is if you want to be initiated into the practice that I do, you can do that. I give it to you for free. Just go searching for it on YouTube and you'll find it. All right. He says, I've read in a few sources you just work on the first, and when, yeah, okay, so yeah, that was, you're right. That's, I got to get in the habit of reading people's entire question, but yeah, you answered your own question there. Jay Jolly question, in Chaldean numerology, Loki's number is 13, the same as my name in numerology. What are your thoughts on Loki in context to the force of evolution? As I see it, we can't evolve without Loki. So Jay Jolly, first off, sounds like you're answering your own question. You're not really asking me a question. You're wanting me to co-sign your belief. So first off, if you're new to my channel, I don't know anything about Chaldean numerology, so please don't ask me about things I don't know anything about. So you're asking me a question about Chaldean numerology. I can't even begin to answer it because I don't know anything about it. Then you're going to talk about the number 13. I don't talk about numerology at all, so again. But what are my thoughts on Loki in context of the force of evolution? I have a lot of thoughts about it, and I strongly recommend that you go onto my channel and just simply learn how to search. In case you don't know how to do that, you can go onto my channel page, go onto YouTube, type in Thunder Wizard. My YouTube channel page will come up. Go there, and then, you know, if you're on a laptop, go to the magnifying glass, click on that, and then type in the word Loki. You'll see all of my videos on Loki. And I don't know what it is on a phone or a tablet, but there's some pull-down menu where you type in and search within the channel. So I recommend that you do that. I'm not talking about Loki today. Your question is great. It's just, you know, that's a whole other 3 hours, and we're talking about something else today. So sorry I couldn't answer your question. Alexander Barr question, are the Dantians the same as the 3 core or heart core chakra system? I don't know what you're talking about. What is a heart core chakra system? Again, you got to ask me things that I teach. I've never taught anything. I've never even heard of that before. So first off, as I said earlier, Dantians are not chakras. So if there's anybody out there teaching 3 core heart core chakra system, I mean, I don't know what that is. Based on that, it doesn't sound like they understand what they're doing. They're probably intuiting, I don't know. But short answer is just don't waste your time with that. I'm already telling you what's what. So, you don't have to waste your time with 3 core what I'm showing you right here. I didn't make this up. This is a science that's been used for thousands of years. The Chinese have understood life force energy better than anybody in the world. The East Indians have understood the 7 chakra and the kundalini, 2 different systems. Just like you have the circulatory and the limbic system. They overlap each other, but they're 2 different systems within the body. So don't try and screw around. Is this the child? It's not. You start learning stuff when you start getting out of the people who can only generalize. And most of the New Age crowd basically generalizes and makes stuff up. And that I don't know that, but that's something that I can imagine somebody making up because they don't quite understand what the hell they're talking about. But they're starting to intuit something, and maybe they'll So don't waste your time. You can see I don't like being asked questions like that. That's why it's good to ask me questions about what I teach. Don't ask me about somebody else's stuff. Ask me about what I teach. You'll get a better response from me. Question, what happens to each of this is She's Got Spirit Lounge. What happens to each of your 3 selves after you die? I talk about that a lot. I welcome you to invite you to come on my channel and type in 3 selves and you'll hear me talk about it. Your soul goes either to the underworld, or if you achieve enlightenment, will go to some other realm where where you choose not to, because you have the choice. You always have the choice. You choose not to reincarnate. Your lower self, your emotions, your psychology, which is why it's really important to work through all of your feelings and forgive and work through your pain, cry it out, become conscious. Become consciously aware of what's in your unconscious, which is what psychology is all about, which is what true meditation is all about, which is what yoga is all about, which is what Tai Chi and Qigong, all of this stuff is all about becoming conscious. That's the end result. I like this method a lot. I do the Kundalini route as well, but I like this method a lot because I'm an energy junkie and I like the feeling of energy. But when I do that, it feels good. It's good for me physically, and it's good for me in terms of martial arts and all that, which I love playing around with. But the end result of that is I start to also become conscious, and I work through all of my issues. If somebody's just a yogi and they stretch and do the Kundalini thing, then they become conscious as well. If somebody's, same thing. If you become an athlete, you become an Olympic athlete, you have to deal with consistency, patience, discipline. All of these things are designed to get you to become conscious of all of your unresolved stuff. So however your path is to do that, when you die, ideally then your lower self, which no longer needs to hold on to your storyline about yourself, your narrative. My name is so-and-so, I came from this, and I feel this way about this, and I voted for Trump, or I voted for Biden, or I'm an independent, or those are all your psychological things you hold on to. You work through all that, you become unattached to that, and then you have this lower self which has its own consciousness and energy, and if you die, then that becomes an earth spirit. It goes into the earth, and it can be reborn again as a lower self. If it gains enough knowledge and consciousness, it can become a soul and get a chance to become a human soul at some point. You were once that. You were once just a ball of emotional energy, and you got enough consciousness that then you got the opportunity to become a star being, which then you became a soul. The higher self is... I'm going to say a higher self is a soul and or a lower self that has achieved a level of awareness where it sits on your head, around here, and we call it your higher self. And it's only there to help you. Now your higher self gains information from the planets and the stars and the gods and all of that, and then it sends that energy directly to the lower self. If your lower self is clear, meaning that you're conscious, then you get an intuition. that comes into your heart. And that's the communication. If you're wrapped up and you don't, and most of us have problems, so don't get me wrong, that's why we're here. If you have unresolved emotional issues, then you may not know the difference between your own unconscious fears and fantasies and an actual intuition that's coming from the universe. So you can go watch those videos about where they go and all that. A J Jolly question. Related to my last question, you mean the one that I didn't want to answer? Is there any relation to Loki being number 13? I don't know. Okay, two most important things in this life. Pay attention and put effort. So if you put effort into listening to what I said, I told you numerous times I don't teach numerology. So how can I answer your question? I don't know. There you go. She's Got Spirit Lounge question. When a psychic sends a ghost into the light, is it simply allowing the shadow of the psyche to transmute into light, thus releasing the energy? A lot of thinking there. You're overthinking it. Is it simply allowing the shadow of the psyche? Too much thinking. Only thing you need to understand is that if a psychic is sending a ghost into the light, that ghost, if I'm correct, is somebody's psychological, their psyche, that they, they're who they thought they were. My name is so-and-so, I live here and all that. If you ever notice that, assuming that this is true, if a psychic is on one of those ghost hunts and they actually talk to one of the ghosts, lots of times the ghost will get upset if you start telling it, listen, you've passed on, go into it gets upset. It says, no, I have to find the treasure. No, I'm not dead. Stop telling me I'm dead. So it doesn't want to hear that. So when you send it to the light, you're telling it to do the same thing that you would do when you work through your emotions. When you work through your sadness, your grief, your pain, your anger, your resentment, your fear, when you work through that, you are connecting to the light of your soul. Your soul, by the way, if you don't realize it, your soul is God, is the center of the universe, is everything. When I was 7, I left my body and I went to what I thought was heaven. And everything you hear people say about when you die, you see this bright white light, that's exactly what I saw. Don't ever listen, by the way, to the fear-mongering nonsense that says stay away from the light. That's nonsense. That is fear-based nonsense. In fact, if you're a Tibetan Buddhist, that's the last thing you would want to do, because according to Tibetan Buddhists, the moment that you die, every single soul, whether you are Stalin or whether you're Gandhi, the moment that you die, the first thing that happens is there's this bright white light that becomes available to you. And if you have no fear of the light, you become enlightened. You go into the light and you become, one with the universe. And that is your soul. What you're seeing at the moment of your death is your soul, which is pure white light. And if you are afraid, if you have attachment, which is totally okay, you reincarnate because there's something else you want to do. I came down here, among other things, because I wanted to serve. That's the most important thing for me to do. Among the most important things for me to do is to serve. So in my last life, I'm sure that when I died, there was my soul, and I went, oh, that looks good, but I want to serve. I'm going to go back. No, I want to fall in love. I'm going to go back. No, I want to be rich. I'm going to go back. Or if you're afraid, you'll go back. So when you go to the light, you can go to the light right now. And you go to the light when you work through your feelings. When you let go of your attachments. When you accept people and the world and reality exactly the way it is. Like right now, I haven't seen it, lately, but there's a really contentious election going on in the U.S. and I'm not in the U.S., but they're trying to figure out, who they want to be their next president. And I forgot, why am I using that? I forgot why I was using that example. You can get really attached to that, but if you learn to just accept that, whatever's going to happen is what's going to happen, and whatever happens, that's exactly the way it is. I accept things exactly the way they are, and I improve myself. If you're in a relationship, you accept somebody exactly as they are, or if you can't, you leave and you accept that it'll never work. You accept that your parents weren't perfect. This is going to the light. So according to you, assuming that this psychic has real power and there's something really happening, that psychic is just telling that somebody's lower self to just resolve and let go of the things that they think that they're dealing with. Go to the light. You don't have to wait till the light isn't out there. It's in here. And that's what I realized. When I went and saw the light, I went into it and I became surrounded by the light, and I felt such incredible blissful love. I mean, orgasmic. It was painful at first. It was so intense, and I had to relax into it. And then once I did, I was saying, "Oh, I'm home, I'm home, I'm home." Now, I was a little kid, so I thought I had found Jesus. I thought I was with Jesus. Never said who or what it was. And then it let go of me, and I started, getting pulled away from the light back down to earth, and I was crying, "No, no, no!" And I was back in my body again. And it took me a long time to figure out that what I had saw was my own soul. So infinity is your own soul. Your soul is God. Your soul is everything, and it's right here. You are it. It's not out there somewhere. You just think you're away from yourself. It's an illusion. It's a game. It's a video game. Edith the Wave. Okay, I don't know if that's a question or not. It's not a question. Veronica Secret. That's not a question either. Let's see. Dean Nevin's question. With Rahu in my 7th house, what kind of actions would give me energy? Teaching classes, taking classes, social interaction, interactions with family, friends, being anywhere out in public with, it's hard to do now, but, having interactions with people. The 7th house is interactions with people of all kinds, having a relationship, being married. These are all the things that Rahu wants to experience. Now, in this life, it means that you have to learn. These are things that you need to learn. So you might have some difficulty with it. There might be some challenges, but this is something that you really want to experience so that in a future life you can go, "Oh yeah, no, I did that marriage thing. I don't need to do that anymore. Yeah, I like people, but Let's see what else. Astronomical hero question. What is the key to making money? Am I talking about that in this video? Go to, let me get rid of this. Welcome to my channel. Go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe at the Manifestation Mastery course level, because I teach you how to manifest. Now, if you don't want to go there and subscribe, go on to my channel and type in manifestation. Or you can also type in the shamanic secret commandment to a perfect life. Okay, I talk about all that in those videos. Short answer is follow your soul. The question is, do you know what your soul wants? What else? Flame 160 question. What energy work is best for reopening my heart chakra after being betrayed in a romantic relationship? I don't know about energy work. I wouldn't just focus just on energy work. You need counseling. If, as you say, you've closed your heart off, that means that you need to heal. So, I mean, I gave you the Hool breath already. I gave that to you. That'll do it. You know, practice that. Nurturing, working with earth energy, grounding. So you need to heal, but you also need to forgive. And you also have to get honest about your responsibility for choosing on an unconscious level. You didn't do it consciously, you didn't mean to do it, but on an unconscious level, you chose somebody who you knew would betray you. So what did you unconsciously, why did you do that? Are you repeating something that happened in childhood? Usually people are. They usually, end up chasing after, a primary caregiver like a mother or a father. If your mother didn't love you and nurture you or shamed you or made you feel abandoned or unloved, you're going to seek out people who are going to abandon you and not love you. So you're going to have to look at all that. So I would recommend counseling, spiritual counseling. Go see a psychologist. But get out of yourself. Staying in yourself is a bad idea. Thinking, again, you need surgery. So if you've got a brain tumor and you're a brain surgeon, you don't try and do brain surgery on yourself. You go to another brain surgeon. If your heart has been broken, then you go to somebody who can help you from an objective standpoint, help you to heal. Are there energy practices? All kinds. Any energy practice. Tai Chi, yoga, deep breathing, Zen meditation, swimming, walking in the woods. Any of those things can help you. But you're going to have to make the effort to decide to heal and to forgive. You're going to have to make that determination. If you don't do that, then it's possible that will just stay with you and become, a problem. And then, you end up looking like, Darth Sidious. Yeah, I hate all men are horrible, and they I'm not making fun. I've been there. So you can do any of the practices on my channel. Look at any of them. Look at Thor's hammer. Look at the Hool breath. That's what the 90-day challenge is about all the way. It's about opening up the heart center. People are asking, how do I open the heart center? 90-day challenge, thunderwizard.com. Click on whatever buttons you need to get to the Warrior 90-day challenge. I can guarantee you, if you do that, you will be on your way towards reopening your heart chakra, as you say. Edith the Wave, question. In your experience, which path is more effective, the Kundalini yoga route or the Qigong route, in terms of generating internal energy and reaching your higher self? Well, let's just first look at the question. I used to ask these kinds of questions. People ask these kinds of questions. What is the best? What is the most efficient? What is the quickest? I would stop thinking in those terms. The question is, which one is the right path for you? For some people, the yogic path and the Kundalini path is the one for them. For other people, the Qi route is the one for them. For some people, a combination of the two. I don't know. I mean, in my experience, I'm just going to tell you what works for me. It's not necessarily what's going to work for you. Again, the answer to the question, take the 90-day challenge. I made that specifically because I wanted to give people the quickest, most effective exercises to connect to both Qi and Kundalini and their heart center. So if you're asking what I think is the most effective, I created it. It's called the 90-day challenge. Go to thunderwizard.com and check it out. And if you don't like it, unsubscribe. But I guarantee you, if you do that even for 30 days, I guarantee you there will be a huge shift. Guaranteed. There's no way that you can do that with me, because instead of me talking, it's just you press play and you follow along with me as I do postures and breath and chanting and mudra and meditations. Just hit play and just follow me. And if you do that every day for 30 days, I guarantee a massive shift. Everybody that's gotten back to me has said that they've had, huge shifts. In fact, for some people, you should just do the morning practice for a while, and then, there's a morning practice, an afternoon, and an evening. For some people, all three might just be too much. No problem. Just do the morning practice, or just do the evening practice. But whichever you commit to, if you commit to one or all three of them for at least 30 days, I guarantee you a shift. Or you can unsubscribe. See what else. J Jolly question. When it comes to energy work such as Qigong, so if you don't know what Qigong is, see these are kind of arbitrary limitation labels. Qigong means energy work. So Qigong by definition is also Qigong. In fact, in China, they don't make this differentiation between Qigong and Qigong anymore. It's just everything is Qigong. But Qigong means internal work. So it's an internal work. So that usually involves seated meditations, usually, where you're going deep inside and you're working with energy into, breath and all that kind of stuff. Maybe some visualization, maybe some mudras, some hand seals. But she says, when it comes to work such as Qigong, is it dangerous to have energy come from anywhere but your own? I don't know what that means. What do you mean? You have to be more specific. You mean somebody else's energy? Do you mean, are you getting energy from an outside entity? You have to be very specific about your question because you're asking it for a specific reason. You're not just wondering. You're obviously doing something that you think might be dangerous and you want me to help you. So be very specific with your question so I can help you. J Jolly, question. This is whatever this is. Question. From time to time, I experience power surges below my navel. About a year ago, I felt the power surge go from my navel up my spine and up and out of my head. Any thoughts about this? Yeah, my thoughts are that you need some kind of a practice. That is not, people think that, this is Kundalini is awakening. It doesn't necessarily mean any of that. It means that there's an imbalance. If you're in your house and you hear bzz, and the lights flicker on and off, is that a good thing? No, it means that there's an electrical surge or a short somewhere, right? That's probably what that means. It could mean that things are awakening. It could mean you're way out of balance. It could mean you're doing too many drugs. It could mean that your psyche's off. It could mean tons of things. So my thoughts are you need to find a teacher. And somebody who you can work with one-on-one who will help you. Whether it's Qigong or Kundalini or something like that. Okay, same guy. Side note, again, if you don't write the word question, I'm not going to see it. Sometimes. Side note, in the days after experiencing the power surge, I had my head several out of bodiless. Yeah, so, what you're wanting me to tell you, you're not directly asking, but what you're wanting me to tell you is you're wanting me to tell you that, you're having a shamanic experience and you're a powerful person, doesn't mean any of those things. It could mean that that you've got untapped potential that needs to be directed and nourished, and it could mean that you're bonkers, could mean that you're on drugs, could mean that you have psychological imbalances, because having a vision doesn't mean anything in and of itself. Most in my experience, most visions, most out-of-body experiences are people's unconscious narcissism, their fears, their fantasies. And, this happens a lot with people who, have emotional issues, don't get outside a lot, don't have a lot of friends. Like I said, do drugs. It could be any of those things. It could be something good. I know you want me to tell you it's something good, but that in itself is just a symptom. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. I strongly recommend finding a practice. This is one of the reasons that I give these online things, is so people have a practice. If your energy is starting to awaken, you need to discipline it, harness it. That's what that is for. If you're having a delusional episode, then same thing. You need to harness your energy. It's still the same. This is why in the East, in India and in China, it's changing now because unfortunately the world is becoming less spiritual. But that's why you never hear anything coming out of those countries except for somebody practices this or is a monk or is a. But here in the West, people just, I'm a prophet because one day I had a vision, man, and I do that. It's because we don't have any discipline. We don't have a spiritual practice. We don't understand what spiritual discipline means. And spiritual disciplines, energy disciplines, are extremely important if you truly want to master your spiritual energy and your spiritual experience. I'm not trying to say don't have visions and don't have out-of-body experiences. I have them all the time. But you need to have a structure, and you can't do that if you don't understand the science of how the body works, which is what these disciplines are about, whether it's yoga, whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's Qigong, whether it's meditation. Whatever it is, you have to understand you live in this framework. Like I said, you've got a house that has plumbing, and it has electricity, and now it has internet, and it has a phone line, and it has all these other things going on. Your body has a circulatory system, it has muscles, it has bones, it has the limbic system, and there's all these things in the brain. And then on top of that, there's spiritual meridians. There's the 7 chakras of kundalini. There's the 3 centers of chi. There's all these other things and meridians that aren't physical, but it's still a science. If you treat it like a science, you'll get predictable results. If you don't treat it like a science, you won't get predictable results. We got to grow up in the West. We got to grow up and understand, treat this thing like what it is, which is a beautiful sacred science. Let's see what else. Jacko, question: did you find the ancient book of East Indian sigils and know the name of it? No, I didn't. Astronomical hero, question: how do I find my true path in life? What Jacko is talking about is something that I talked about in the last video, which is that the Norse, I forget the name of the book. You can find it. There's a magical book of runes and magic and spells from I think it's called the Galdabrook. The runes in that are identical to runes, a rune book that was I found a long time ago that was written in East India also thousands of years ago. It's the same thing. It's the same science. She was asking me if I found that. No, I didn't find it because I haven't looked for it. I don't know where it is. I don't know. I found it online, and then, like I do with a lot of things, I clicked off of it and forgot all about it. Astronomical hero, question: how do I find my true path in life? The 90-day challenge. That's exactly what that's there for. Go do it. Watch my channel. You're new to my channel? Type into my channel. Find out how to search within my channel. Soul desire. You can type in soul desire. You can type in, I've already said, you can type in look further up in the chat, the shamanic secret power to, or shamanic secret commandment to a perfect life. I read my book online. You can buy my book. Seriously, guys, put a tiny bit of effort and you can find it. It's on my channel. So I recommend that you do that. Tens of hours of video of me talking about it. No shortage. Even on the channel and on the Thunder Wizard Path, there's the Manifestation Mastery course. I teach you in depth how to do it all the time. Just put some effort into looking for it on my channel and you shall find it. Seek and you shall find. Jay Jolly, question: following up on my last question. For example, one of your meditations, you imagine the North Star above your head. Is this energy coming from outside you or from within? I want to know why you're asking the question. Where is this question coming from? What you really want to ask me is it safe? You want to tell me that you were born a Christian and were told you should never have something outside of you. Something like that. There's some reason for you asking this question. If I just answer these little things, it's not, what if I say yes or say no? If I say yes, is that good or bad? If I say no, it's not outside of you, is that good or bad? Why are you asking the question? I want to help you the most. You have to be honest. You have to reveal your feelings about it. And then I can best help you. Because otherwise, it doesn't mean anything. Whether it's outside of you or inside of you is meaningless if you don't know why you're asking the question. Because you might have a wrong assumption about the universe. If your assumption about the universe is that you are this little thing and the universe is this big thing, that is a false assumption. And you're going to ask questions like, is it outside of me? If you operate from the assumption that the universe is your projection, then you won't ask, is that outside of me or inside of me? Because you'll have the belief that everything comes from you. So why are you asking the question? Why do you need to know? How does that help you? Does it protect you if I say, no, don't worry, it's not coming from outside of you? Or is that good because you want something to come from outside of you because you don't feel like you're enough? Look at yourself. Why do you ask the question? Then I can help you. Anything else? I don't see any other questions. All right, so if you don't ask me a question, then I have to either sell you stuff or entertain you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to encourage you to vote in the election. In case you didn't know, there was a candidate for president that you probably didn't realize, and he's got something he needs to talk to you about. Hey there, pay attention. This is Arnold. I have a very important announcement. I am going to be running for president of the United States for 2020. Listen to me now and vote for me later. Hi, this is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm going to be running for the president of the United States of the world. Listen, the United States is the most pumped country in the world. We have the most pumped people. We have the most pumped democracy the world has ever seen. We used to be so pumped in the world. Everybody had respect for us. My God, we were so totally pumped. Nobody would dare look us in the eyes. We won every single war there ever was. We won the War of Independence. We said to you, hey, England, you British Empire, forget about you. We are more pumped than you. And we won that war. And then there was the First World War. We won that. Here, Europe was fighting with itself. European countries were saying, hey, I don't like you. Hey, I don't like you. They're fighting like that. And then America, looking from across the ocean, said, hey, what are you guys doing? What's wrong with you? Come on, knock it off. And we came over there and we won that war. And then there was the Second World War. And it was all the same kind of things going on. Europe is fighting with each other and the Nazis are taking over all of Europe. And then they start bombing London. And we're watching. And then finally the Japanese come to us and they slap us in the face. And we go, hey, what's going on here? What's wrong with you guys? And we went to the whole world and we pumped and we flexed in front of the whole world. And we won that war too. But that's not what's happening anymore. The United States is not as pumped as it used to be. Nobody respects us like they used to before. Now we are old and flabby and out of shape. We put a big smile on our face and say, hey, we're the United States. Yeah, we're still pumped. But we got this guy running the whole country who thinks that he can just grab the whole world by the private parts. And the world is going, hey, you cannot grab me there anymore. I don't think you are pumped. And they're not listening to us. But I'm telling you now, and you are going to vote for me later, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to make the world a better place because I am going to pump up the United States one more time. And I know, yeah, they say, Arnold, you cannot be president. You were not born here. Hey, it doesn't matter if this guy who becomes the worst kind of idiot in the world goes around grabbing the world by its private parts. This guy can become president. I'm going to say, as Lord Pindar, ruler of the universe, I am going to say that I, Arnold Schwarzenegger, can become president if I decide to. So my new catchphrase is, make America pumped again. But in reality, we're going to make the world pumped again. And when I become president, I am going to legislate. The first thing that I do when I get into office, I'm going to sign the thing, I'm going to hold it up to the camera, and then everybody is required to go to thunderwizard.com, and they're going to subscribe. They're going to hit the bell button. They're going to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Then they're going to go to thunderwizard.com website. And then they're going to subscribe there too. And then they're going to go to courses.thunderwizard.com, and they're going to buy all of the products, all of the books, all of the services that this guy, I'm telling you, the Shaminator, that guy is really, really pumped in the spirit. He's going to pump you up so good spiritually, you're not even going to believe it. So that's it. Get ready, because here I come, world. The world is going to get pumped again, and there's nothing you can do about it. All right, I'll talk to you later. All righty. Let's see. I hope that was entertaining for you. Let's take a look, see if any more questions popped up, or if Jay Jolly did not elaborate on your question. So unfortunately, I can't help you, because I really need to know why you're asking that question so I can help you. Otherwise, like I said, it's pointless unless I know what your assumptions are about all of it and why it's important to you. Okay, so that's it for me today. And let's see, that's it for me today. So keep your hats on, stay safe, and I hope that you get what you want out of this election if you're in the States. It looks like there's a 50-50 chance that you will or you won't, seeing as how it's so divisive. But yeah, I wish you all the best, and more information on this stuff coming. That's all for now. All right, talk to you guys later.